You know, I know it's kind of irrational, and maybe people think that I'm like kind of overreacting, but I'm really angry about this. Like the fact that I might not be able to get a proper DCP, that it's so complicated. It's like this whole project, like the goal was to finish in time to submit to Tribeca, and I'm still going to submit. But if I absolutely have to have a DCP and I can't get one, I mean, I'm just pissed off, like I'm disappointed. I don't know whether to be mad at myself or just the circumstances. I mean, I guess, I just didn't know, I just didn't know. I did a lot of research on DCP, and, the first time I heard about it a couple of years ago, a guy at a theater said to me, "Do you have a DCP? Because we only work with DCP." And I actually told him, I don't do drugs, because I had no idea what he was talking about. So I've done a lot of research since then, and I knew that I was going to get a DCP of this. And, to me, shooting 24p was 23.98, which is what my camera does, and which is what most mirrorless cameras do. Who knew that it had to be 24, that I had to either have an S1h or an FX3 or an FX30 or something like that to be able to do it. So anyway, today I kind of took some time and I just drove around. I went to a couple of my favorite places. It snowed here in the morning or last night, and it was really pretty because it wasn't too much snow, because too much snow to me is never pretty, if you have to go out and deal with it. But this was just a light snow, and it was really beautiful, and it felt kind of calming. And I went to this place by the Hudson River, where I just can be still sometimes and just relax and kind of get my head together. And, I was just out there thinking, trying to figure out what to do. And also, first and foremost, thank you so much to everybody who has given me all this information just from that video yesterday. I've gotten emails, I've gotten comments here, I've gotten, emails on my website, like people have gone to my social media, like it's pretty incredible, the community that YouTube really is, because, there's a lot of BS on YouTube, but when you make a video like I did yesterday, where you're asking a genuine question, like you're really in the middle of a project, you're really trying to get something done, you really don't know, and you really need help. It's amazing to me, the generosity, just the community, like I said, of people here is just really beautiful and so appreciated by me. So, what I was thinking about today? With regards to all of this, I'll tell you, I'm going to start a new project in a couple of months, and I'm definitely going to have a Panasonic S1h, because the thing is, if I'm deciding between the S1h and FX3, because that, like, I'm not going back to crop sensor, like I want to stay with full frame. I'm used to it. It is better in low light, although I think I could do a perfectly fine project with an FX30 with crop sensor camera, a GH6, I'm not worried about that, but I'm just used to full frame. So I'm going to stay, and if I can get an S1h and it's even cheaper than an FX30, and I'm not preoccupied with autofocus, why not? I can get one from a reputable store like Adorama or B&H for $1,800. I can get one on eBay for closer to $1,000 if I want to, take a chance like that, which I do all the time. But the thing is, like my lenses, I don't have many L-mount lenses. Like I don't have Lumix Panasonic lenses per se. I had a couple, but I sold them because I use these vintage lenses 95% of the time. The only lenses that I would lose and have to change are my anamorphic lenses. Those are L-mount. I have the Siri APS-C anamorphic lenses, the 1.33. Those are L-mount. There's no L to E adapters. And so that's annoying, and that'll stop you. So I'm going to get an S1H because I'm shooting at 4K next time. Like I'm not, as much as I love the S5, and I think I might have caught a shot today that had moire again, which is unbelievable because I shot a feature-length film for 2 years. Not one shot showed moire. I see it like a couple of months ago doing a YouTube video. I never see it again. And then today, when I'm shooting, and actually I only see it when I'm looking at a small, screen while I'm editing in DaVinci Resolve. When I go to full screen, I don't really see it. So I'm not sure if it's moire or if it's just the screen, the definition of the screen, the resolution, when I make the picture smaller, the image smaller. But I don't know. But I love the S5. I'm a huge fan of the Panasonic S5. I mean, look at all this footage. I'm going to drop all this footage during this video. And just look at how beautiful it is. I mean, it's amazing. I didn't do anything to it. I just shot in Vlog. I just add maybe a little bit of contrast in a couple of the shots. Maybe mess with it a little bit, but very, very little. Like usually, I try to get my the shot right in camera, even when I'm shooting log. I mean, if I have an incredibly challenging shot where it's crazy highlights and dark shadows, then yeah, of course, I'm gonna, go a little bit towards the highlights and try to, see what I can do in post. And, the camera has incredible dynamic range. And so I love this camera, I won't sell it, I won't get rid of it. I love it for still photography too. Like I really enjoy using this camera, and I know it so well now. But when I get an S1H, why would I use this for a real project? I'll probably still use this for like YouTube, and not that YouTube is not real, but you know what I mean. If I'm doing something like a feature or a documentary or something like that, if I have a camera that shoots in 4K and I have even the slight desire to wind up showing it in a theater or at major festivals that require a DCP, why would I use the S5? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to use the S1H because it shoots 4K. 24p, which got me to thinking today. Because I watched a couple of videos yesterday, and I'm like anybody else. I watch a lot of YouTube videos that mean nothing to me, but I enjoy them, because I'm just kind of like a tech nerd when it comes to camera gear now, and I just enjoy watching them, even though I'm not looking for lenses, I'm not looking for cameras, I'm not looking for anything. If I am looking for anything, like recently I bought a new tripod, so I watched a bunch of videos on tripods, If I want to look for a new gimbal or something like that, I'll watch a bunch of Brandon Lee videos or a bunch of videos on people that do gimbals, But generally, I just watch stuff when I'm working out in the morning, stretching, doing strength work or whatever, and I just have it in the background and I'm watching camera videos, filmmaking videos. And it got me thinking today, I actually have a good reason to upgrade my camera, to change my camera body. And as everybody says, including me, you can't buy a bad camera right now. You can't get a bad camera. Any camera you get is going to be awesome. However, look at my situation. This is a perfect example of how sometimes you need to get a different camera. Like I absolutely need to shoot 24p, 24 frames per second, not 23.98. And yesterday I kept saying 23.976, and I have no idea where that came from. That might even be right. I don't know. But, what shows up on my camera is 23.98, which is 24p, which every video you ever watch says, don't worry about it, it's 24p, and just double your shutter speed to 1/50. It's like, well, what about 24 and 1/48? So this is the time that you want to upgrade your camera. Like let's say you're shooting with a Sony A6400, or you're using a Panasonic S5, or some Fuji camera or something like that, or whatever camera you have, but you're starting to move forward in your career and you're starting to get calls to be on set with a crew, and now you need a proper cinema camera. You don't need a new camera because it needs better quality, and you're probably being handed a camera anyway, so that's a whole other issue. But if you need to have a camera of your own where you're going to be on set, where you might have focus pullers and people like that, and you're going to be, connecting to other collaborators, then you need a proper cinema camera where you can make the connections. You might need proper, you know, I/O and stuff like that, you know, full-size HDMI, DCI, like you need proper I/O. Now, that doesn't mean that your image quality is going to be better, because it's not. You know, your dynamic range, like all that's the stuff that's just nothing. You know, dynamic range, autofocus, all that kind of stuff, color science. You know what? Any camera will do that was made in the last 10 years or 8 years, especially if you're using 10-bit cameras. You know, any camera from the last 2 or 3 years, for sure. You know, they're not even making 8-bit cameras anymore. But 8-bit is fine too. And there's plenty of, you know, high-end cinema cameras that are 8-bit. But if you need a camera to be on set, then you might need to upgrade. If you're in a situation like me where you're planning on a theatrical release, then you need a camera that shoots 24p, right? If you are somebody who does, if you are always doing gimbal work and stuff like that, and you absolutely need the best autofocus, then you need to switch cameras if you're working with a Panasonic S5 or a GH6 or something like that. Like, you need to switch cameras, because if that's what's necessary for your workflow, then that's what you have to do. So, yeah, it's true. You know, when people say gear doesn't matter and all that kind of stuff, but these are the examples of when gear does matter. You know, when there are specific needs that certain cameras don't provide and other cameras do, you need to get the one that fits in with your workflow, with what you need, you know, with what is necessary for you to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, you know. I mean, the idea is to have a camera that makes things easier for you, right? That is a good idea. Now, that doesn't mean that autofocus, like in my case, autofocus would make it easier for me, because I don't have any situations where I need autofocus. I don't even work that way. And honestly, I think that I could get a shot faster than somebody who uses autofocus most of the time, because I know exactly what I want. And so, yeah, the autofocus camera might eventually get the perfect shot if you do 5 takes or 8 takes or whatever, and you're like, all right, one of them has got it, definitely. And yeah, would it be sharper or better than what I could do manually? Probably, perhaps. But I'll get it in 1 take probably, because I know exactly what I want to focus on, and the camera is not going to be deciding anything for me. So for me, you know, it doesn't make it easier for me, but I digress. But I'm just saying, I was thinking about that today, like, you know, when you talk about upgrading your stuff, upgrade according to what you need, you know, not based on what's the coolest thing, or thinking like, oh my God, in 4 years I might be in a situation where I need that. Like, nah, it ain't about that. It's about what you're doing, you know, like how you like to shoot, what you're used to, and what you need, you know. Like, I didn't know until now that I needed 24p. I knew I needed a DCP. I didn't even know what a DCP was until I finished my first film. I'm not afraid to admit that. I had no idea. I really did say to the guy, I don't do drugs. So now I know what it is, but who knew that if you don't shoot in 24p, it's a problem? Can you work around it? Are there certain things that, you know, I could perhaps figure this out? Maybe, not definitely. You know, I got a bunch of messages today, and not one of them said, do this, and that's it. Nobody. And obviously I'm not going to reshoot a whole film. So I'm going to try all these things that people threw my way. And again, thank you so much. Like, I am so humbled by all the help and the attention I got today for this. It's unbelievable. It just goes to show you that, you know, when you post things and you're being genuine, that's when your videos are gonna do the best, because you're actually connecting with people. It's the same thing in performance. Like, when I'm performing, the reason people, you know, like my performance is because I'm being genuine, like I'm connecting with people. Even if I'm playing another character that's not me, what I'm doing is I'm channeling that person through the most genuine parts of myself. Like, you know, if I'm playing somebody else, I have to relate that person to me. Like, I have to be able to relate to who this character is, and I have to find their humanity, and I have to, you know, like, understand how I empathize with that. You know, I can't just, you know, have a good dialect and, you know, learn all my words. Like, I have to, you know, really understand the soul of a person and be as genuine as possible. So anyway, I'm going to end this video, but just some thoughts, and I wanted to update everybody. And actually, I just really wanted to say thank you so much for all the help. And I wanted to share that, you know, I think this is a good, you know, video describing when you actually need to upgrade your camera. You know, you don't need to upgrade your camera just because you've had a camera for a few years. Like if you have a Sony a7 III that you've had since 2018 or 2019, you don't need to upgrade it just because the a7S III is better. Because, you know, remember the a7 III was legendary when it came out. It was the greatest mirrorless camera that was ever made. You know, if you're still using a Blackmagic 4K pocket cinema camera, it's an amazing camera. Like you can do a feature film, a short film, a documentary with that camera. And if it works with your workflow and you're doing the work that you're proud of and you're happy with, and it's not frustrating your nerves and keeping you from being able to do stuff, why would you upgrade? But if you get to the point where you can't progress, you know, you can't get what you want, you know, you're just like at wit's end, and you know, you feel like you're just like climbing straight uphill all the time, then you should upgrade. Then gear matters. But until that happens, it don't matter. So thanks for watching. I appreciate that. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. And that's it. I will keep you up to date on what's going on with all this stuff. My Patreon link is in the description. If you want to be a Patreon of my stuff, go check out the site and see what I'm all about. You can go to my website and learn a lot about me. My GoFundMe is also linked in the description for this film. Trying to raise money for, you know, the progression of the film now, which costs a lot of money. So yeah, if you want to support, I'm kind of a one-man gang. I'm very, very fortunate to have musical collaborators, and particularly Steve Peckman, who did the score for this film and who's kind of my partner on this film. And I mean, man, he's amazing. He's like the whole sky, everything. So anyway, but I'm pretty much a one-man show when it comes to my work. You know, I shoot everything by myself. I'm the actor, I'm the sound person, I'm the wardrobe, I'm the makeup, I'm the craft services, like I said. I'm everything, you know, everything. And you know, not by choice. I just don't have a budget, don't have a producer. You know, the grants that I get are few and far between, and usually they're for theater. But I'm trying my best. And the one thing I will never do, ever, never, is allow a lack of funds to keep me from sharing my stories.